This is an indoor compost bin. Composting outside is pretty simple. You have a container, put any kind of organics you have into it, from leaves to vegetable and fruit scraps. But an indoor composting bin using vermiculture, so worm composting, is quite a bit more complicated, but a really fast way of being able to deal with it. So you can see all these incredible California red wiggler worms that are just going crazy in here right now as they are working through the compost that we have put in. The key for any compost bin is to have a mix of brown organics and green organics. So it has to be almost a 50-50 mix of things like fruit and vegetable scraps that we would consider green organic. And then our brown organic, which is almost purely carbon-based, would be things like leaves, any kind of grass or other plant leaf material that's here, and then things like coffee grinds, tea bags, or anything else like that too. So these would be enough for that. Our green organics, anything that would be from bananas to fruit, any fruit and vegetable scrap, you want it cut up as much as possible to increase the surface area. So if you put in an entire apple, that's not going to be very good. But if you broke it up into a number of pieces, that would increase the surface area. The idea is that it starts to break down before it rots and gets really smelly. So I'll just put that mix of things that are in here. Eggshells, the worms don't eat. Worms don't have teeth, so they don't really eat anything in terms of chewing it. They're more eating the bacteria and everything that are a part of breaking it down. But the advantage of eggshells is that they provide calcium, but more importantly, they absorb acid. And so any acid that's kind of from onions or tomatoes can get absorbed through that. You still cannot add oranges, citrus, grapefruit, lemons, that kind of thing into a worm compost bin. The last thing is mixing it up a bit here. Your compost bin should not have any standing water at the bottom. So this one has a little too much water at the bottom, which is why the worms are coming up to the top. When it's all mixed up, it should be like a wet sponge. And so this compost bin needs to have some extra carbon added into it. That can be done through terms of leaves, that kind of thing. But another really effective way is using shredded paper. Paper, of course, is from trees originally, so it's almost a pure carbon source, but this will absorb a lot of that liquid, which will then allow the worms to be able to move throughout the bin. If you have standing water or that compost kind of slime down at the bottom, that's going to become an issue because, of course, worms cannot breathe in water. They have to have a damp soil. So your ideal compost would look like this. There's not much of an odor to it. The worms are moving throughout the whole area, and it's like a wet sponge. So if I was to squeeze this, which I won't, you'll get a bit of liquid coming out of it, but as itself, it is not dripping at all. So there we go, the beautiful California red wiggler worm. One of those worms will go through about half a pound of compost in its life, which is about a 3 to 4 month period. And then when they mate, they lay a little egg sac that has about 10 to 20 little baby worms that will come out of that, beginning the whole process again.